This is Shake Weight for men, and it's going to kick your butt.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like...
What removes all kinds of offensive odors, unhealthy tobacco smoke, irritating pollen and dust from the indoor air you breathe? It's the amazing Clean Air by Ronco.
It slices, it dices, it'll even julienne your fries. Actually, it doesn't do any of that stuff. It only does one thing, but what it does is pretty cool, so stay tuned. Hey there folks, welcome back to the channel. Please bear with any background racket you might hear throughout this production. We are on location where life happens, and sometimes there's stuff going on out there that interferes with what we're trying to do in here. Yep, that's right. I sat down to do this video this morning and my neighbor decided to spread gravel in his driveway on the same day. You can't wait forever for paint to dry. Let's get this thing going. Welcome back, folks. Now, one of my many character flaws is I have subscriptions to several gun magazines that I never even really read. I attribute a great deal of this to just being too busy or lazy. Yeah. Realistically, the time I used to spend reading the articles is now consumed by scrolling through the messages on my Samsung Galaxy, trying to decipher through viewer comments and reading through countless text message threads that I get from other folks. Now, with that in mind, in order for me to spend the time it takes to read through an article, it really has to pique my interest. Normally, I'll thumb through a magazine to see if I can find something that I'm interested in, but often I'm done with the magazine within about 30 seconds. So when I picked up the June-July issue of Handguns magazine, I was pleasantly surprised to see an article that I genuinely wanted to read. I have changed the sights on no less than 24 Glock pistols, and I have tried just about every method you can imagine. Most of the sight changing tools are awkward at best, and even with quality pushers, I have found that something other than the tool is usually necessary to get the job done. Usually that requires a punch or similar implement to get everything back in the dovetail like it goes. Now, this does apply to pistols other than Glocks, but it is especially relevant with the Austrian tactical Tupperware. Side note, we actually have a production on the wrong way to install sights here on this channel. So back to the magazine article in question. It pertains to a series of dedicated inline sight pusher tools designed specifically for swapping out the sights on a Glock pattern pistol. Glocks are so common that it only makes sense that somebody would eventually come out with a dedicated tool to service them. Well, that's just what the folks over at XS Sights have done. Once I finished reading through the article, I knew I had to get my hands on their new inline sight pusher tool and try it for myself. Now, I reached out to the folks at XS, and right away I was contacted by their digital marketing manager, who not only entertained my request for one of their Gunsmith model sight pushers, but also supplied me with a set of their R3D version 2.0 night sights. All right, and here for comparison, on the left, the orange dot is the Ameriglow Trooper on a Glock 19. The green dot in the middle is the XS R3D 2.0, which is also available in orange. And on the right is a Glock factory white outline night sight. Coming back here to the rear, you'll see that the rear side of the Ameriglow Trooper on the left and the XS sight have very similar features. Black outline tritium dots with a serrated face. That is absolutely perfect. Helps you pick up that front sight. The Glock sight here has the white outline like the front sight, and while they're not bad sights, I just have a hard time distinguishing the front sight from the back sight, especially in bright daylight. And none of these are particularly old. Of course, night sights only last so long, but I'm going to cut the lights out now so you can see what the brightness levels are of these three sights. The Ameriglow Troopers on this pistol are only about a year old. The XS sights are brand new. And the Glock factory sights on the Glock 19 are about 3 years old. So let's see what happens. Okay, here, and from left to right, again, we have the Ameriglow Troopers. We have the XS sights, which you can see are much brighter. Now, granted, they are a little newer, but that other pair is only about a year old. And then the Glock 3-dot night sights over here on this side are really kind of pale in comparison. Those XS sights are really stealing the show here. That's amazing, the difference. I think I'm going to switch to XS sights on all of my tactical pistols. As the XS folks wasted no time in shipping the kit out to me, I was able to start putting it through its paces in no time. To say I was impressed with the robust design would be an understatement. I was anticipating that the block that the tool is made of would be of some kind of aluminum billet or similar construction. No surprise there, it was. The aluminum body of the unit appears to be anodized and has some laser etched instructions as well as a QR code to access the company's website for complete instruction detail. The steel bolt along with the T-handle appear to have some type of nitride finish perhaps, and appear to be both first-rate and of high quality. The brass bit that contacts the sight blade is of extremely high quality and should last most folks a lifetime. Another nice feature is the T-handle is held in place by a very strong magnet and doubles as a front sight removal tool. In fact, the only part of the entire unit that I was skeptical about was the cheesy little plastic wedge that fits into the slot at the back side of the unit and helps hold the slide in place by friction while removing the sight. Well, it turns out my concerns about that piece were not warranted, as not only did it work well, but it shows no signs of wear after multiple slides were inserted for sight removal. As I mentioned before, there is a QR code etched into the finish of the body that allows for you to access the company's website on the instruction page with a click of your cell phone camera. The squared off profile of the unit body makes it well suited to be placed in either a vise or a clamp. However, thanks to the very solid construction of the tool, I found the need to secure it was unnecessary even with larger slides. Now I know what you're thinking, Jay, just shut up and show us how this thing works. Well, here we go. Now I do have a vise sitting out here on the counter. This is not necessary. The only reason I'm going to use this is so I can clamp the bottom edge of this thing in it so that I can spin the little handle here, which by the way is held in place only by the magnet. You can tug on it and pull it out, but it's a very secure design. I'm gonna sit it up here so I can show you here on this actual Glock slide. Now for the YouTube manual reviewer, we don't have any weapons out here today. All we have are a couple of slide assemblies, and everything we're doing involves changing out the sights, which is allowed under YouTube's terms of service. So for the manual reviewer, if you'll just make note of that and try not to fling this video down the memory hole. But as you can see here, now I have not messed with the sight on this pistol at all. We're going to push out. You'll notice I'm doing this with one finger here, and I'm doing this on purpose so you can see how it works. I'm going to push that factory steel sight blade out of that Glock 19X dovetail. You'll notice that it was incredibly easy to do. And just as easily, open the unit back up, line everything back up, and just like that, we can return it to its original place of origin with minimal difficulty. That looks about right there. So there you have it. Super simple. Now to remove the front sight, you take the handle off. It's got a nut in there. I'll take a close-up of that. And you reach right up here on the front of the Glock slide. You get it on that nut, and the handle of this thing is large enough and robust enough that compared to some of the little Chinesium tools on the market, you'll have no problem removing the front sight blade of a Glock pistol. But wait, there's more. So if you're going to have a tool like this taking up real estate on your workbench, it's nice to know if it's going to work for things other than what it was intended for, which was this Glock style slide. Well, this SIG P365 slide is about the same height dimensionally as the Glock slide, and that's really kind of the limitation of this tool. You have to have the same height in elevation in order for it to work. But as you'll see here, with no issue whatsoever, we removed the rear sight from our SIG P365. And of course, as I mentioned before, the major limitation to this would be the height of the overall slide assembly. just like that. We're back in business with the P365. I also used this tool on several Glock clones. It worked okay, the Taurus G3 series and the Taurus GX4. I was a little disappointed with the Walther PDP. I figured it would fit right in there, but the slide on the Walther is just a little too tall for the push on this tool. But again, as we mentioned before, the tool is made specifically for Glocks. Glocks are incredibly common. So as you could see there, changing the dovetail sight blade with the XS Inline sight pusher couldn't have been easier. That said, I realize you might run across a situation where the tolerances might be on the tighter side, and in the event you encounter a stubborn blade, you can refer to the second page of the supplied instructions for guidance. If after that you're still having issues and can't figure it out, before you get out the rotary tool, give the folks over at XS a call and allow their tech support folks to walk you through any problems you're facing. Speaking of the folks over there, when I spoke to the marketing manager, I wanted to know if there was someone in particular of whom this fantastic tool was the brainchild. They graciously answered that the design was a collaborative effort of the entire XS team based on long-term research and feedback from industry contacts. In addition to the fantastic job the tool does on Glock sights, it also works well for several other makes and models of firearms. With a $200 MSRP for the Gunsmith model, it certainly is not cheap. That being said, the quality exceeds the cost, and for most folks, even if you use it regularly to swap out sights for your buddies, I doubt if you would ever be able to wear it out. So is the XS Inline sight pusher for everybody? Probably not everybody, but I would wager that most folks could justify the expense if they were going to use it on more than one or two pistols. So now I'd like to know what you think. Have you tried one of these? Have you thought about trying one of these? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care and God bless.